Happy Thursday, a little Thursday edition of GC Live Fowl Balls. Back at it as always. I'm your host, intern Joe Macheca. With me, as always, is my co-host, Jack Veltri. Jack, pretty good run so far in Hoover this week. Plenty of good things to talk about on this show. But first off, how you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. It's been a crazy last few days. Obviously, I was in Knoxville over the weekend, and my prediction was sorely wrong. That series was a disaster. And then, I was home for a few days, literally probably 48 hours, and then it was straight back on the road to Hoover. And I've been here since Monday. I didn't expect to be here that long. I thought that South Carolina was going to probably win the first game against Bama and then lose the next two, and they're going to be playing two more games at least. So I'm here probably until Saturday at least. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it'd be crazy to be here for a whole week, but I'm enjoying it. It's a good time, good weather, and yeah, man, can't complain.
Yeah, 100%. Well, you're doing a great job over there in Hoover. Bringing everyone all the coverage from Gamecock baseball. But yeah, where do we start, Jack? I guess we start at the beginning. 10-5 against Alabama. That was a crazy, crazy game.
Yeah, that was a good one. Obviously, you fall behind 3-0 early against Alabama. Dylan Eskew kind of struggled a little bit, but then you get the offense that was missing over the weekend in Knoxville returning to form, and you score 6 runs in the third inning. Gavin Cassis gets started with a solo homer. Then Ethan Petrie follows up with a homer. And then the bases are loaded, and Dalton Reeves annihilates a pitch, a 2-0 pitch, I believe, into right field. And South Carolina takes a 6-3 lead, and they kind of hold on the rest of the way. Cole Messina had a big day. He had 3 ribbies in that game. And I think the big story from the game was Chris Veach. And Matthew Becker also pitched very well after Eskew. But Veach came in the 4th inning, and he pitched the rest of the way, went 5 2/3 innings, threw 67 pitches. I think gave up only 3 hits, and he was filthy. And I asked him after the game because Alabama's players, the way they do the press conferences is that the losing team speaks first, and then South Carolina spoke second. So Bama spoke first, and I guess they kind of just talked about how they knew Chris Veach was going to be throwing the changeup more often than not. They knew it was coming from the scouting reports they did, but they still couldn't hit it. And Veach, after the game, was talking about it, and he said that he knew that they were going to expect the changeup, so he used like a slide step fastball, and he got ahead in a lot of counts. He was surprised that he was able to get ahead with his heater, and it worked out really well. He baffled Alabama, and they got the 10-5 win. And I mean, look, it was just one game, but it was a much-needed win after losing 6 straight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way to respond to, right? I mean, we talk about this team, playing really well when everyone is counting them out. And, I think that was a prime example of it. Cole Messina, the Moose has been loose all over, Hoover this weekend. Jack, I don't know if you've seen him walking down the street or something like that, big old Moose kind of thing. But, I mean, he's 6 for 8, I believe, through the tournament with 3 home runs because he had 2. Yeah. It's ridiculous what Cole Messina is doing. And so, he's been the leader of the pack, but also, I mean, you had a Gavin Casas homer early, which, I mean, we've talked about it a bunch on this show. When Gavin Casas is hitting nukes, the rest of the team usually follows suit. So Dalton Reeves, that massive grand slam, I mean, that was huge, right? And then the offense hasn't really stopped from there. I mean, it slowed down a little bit yesterday with Arkansas, but, huge win as well against the Hogs.
Yeah, Arkansas definitely made it tough yesterday. You get an early 1-0 lead with a Parker Nolan RBI single in the first inning, and then Eli Jones gets the start on the mound, and he looked fine. He didn't look great, but he looked a lot better than he had in recent outings. He goes 3 1/3, does give up 2 runs. So the thing with him was that I can't remember what inning. I think it was his last inning that he was working in. He was going into the 4th, and he had a runner on first with like 1 out maybe, and he gets a ground ball hit right back to him. And he honestly, he could have taken his time and thrown the ball to second base and probably gotten the out, no problem. But instead, I think he rushed it. He fielded the ball and threw to second, and it went into center field. And that kind of allowed Arkansas to go ahead and tie the game again. I think there are a few 3 ties in this game maybe yesterday, and that did it for Jones. I mean, he only threw 56 pitches, 3 strikeouts, and 1 walk. And he faced 15 batters. So I would expect him if South Carolina, let's say South Carolina wins today and then they don't play till Saturday. I could definitely see Jones being used in some capacity this weekend. I think you could say the same for all the guys because I think Mark Kingston's done a pretty good job of load managing his pitching staff to not overexpose them, as he might say. But after Jones, Ty Good comes in, and he was also fine. I mean, he was pitching very well through his first 2 innings. Then he got into some trouble in his last inning of work, and he walked 3 guys. I feel like walks have been an issue for him lately.
Yeah.
Does end up giving up 2 runs, but after him, Garrett Gainey, man, unbelievable. I think a lot of people will probably be quick to say that, oh, why is Garrett Gainey pitching out of relief when South Carolina might need him to start tomorrow? Well, you can't really play that way. You have to play in the moment to try to win games. And this is something that I think I was critical of. I think a lot of people were critical of with last week with Kingston not using Chris Veach in specific situations. I think it was in Friday's game when South Carolina had a chance to beat Tennessee, and they didn't use Veach because they wanted to save him for the final 6 outs of the game. So instead, this time around, Kingston just pulls all the – I don't even know how to phrase it, but he just pulls out Gainey and has him pitch the final 3 innings, and it works out well. I mean, he strikes out 3, walks 1, gives up 1 run. He got into a little bit of trouble in the 9th, but I mean, overall, it was a great game for him. And then obviously the story of the day, Cole Messina, 5 RBIs, 2 homers. The funny thing about his homers was that both of them were eerily similar. In the 5th inning, he hits a 2-run homer after Blake Jackson gets hit by a pitch to dead center. And then obviously in the 9th inning with a 4-4 tie, same situation. Jackson gets plunked again. And then Messina got, I think, maybe like a 1-0 pitch or something and ripped it to center field. It was insane. South Carolina dugout went bananas. It was wild. And I think, honestly, there's been a lot of crazy games for the Gamecocks this year. I think off the top of my head, Blake Jackson's walk-off homer against Kentucky, Talmadge Lecroy's pump fake throw that went to third for the final out against Alabama in a 9-8 victory. There's been a bunch of crazy games this year in what's been really an up and down year, but I think this one probably has to be top 3 or 4 just because, I mean, man, like Messina, he keeps stepping up to the plate and does his job. I mean, he's tearing the cover off the ball right now, hitting 336, and he needs to be talked about amongst the Jack Cagliones, the Charlie Condons, and Christian Moores of the SEC, just because that's how good of a player is. And it's still beyond me that he was not named to the first team All SEC. The fact that he's a second team All SEC is crazy. Like, no disrespect to Jackson Appel. That's a great player, great catcher for Texas A&M. But the fact that Messina is getting that much overlooked by the SEC is wild to think about.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Jack. And yeah, that home run, both home runs were oddly similar. He got it. I think it was 0-0. It was an 0-0 breaking ball.
Maybe
right?
that's what it was.
Yeah, it was 1-0 or 0-0. But he smoked that thing.
Yeah, and the thing that – sorry to cut you off. The thing that Kingston mentioned yesterday was that Messina – I can't remember – it's one or the other, but I think Messina was sitting fastball, but that allowed him to there's something with his approach that he was doing that allowed him to be ready for either the breaking ball or fastball because he knew one of those pitches was coming. But he got a good pitch, and he hit it a long way. And, look, Arkansas used one of their best relievers yesterday to come in and face Messina. I mean, that guy, I think Ginkle, I can't remember his name. He had an ERA under 1. So Arkansas was really throwing all their chips out there yesterday, and I know they just lost today, so they're done. But, I mean, look, Messina on another planet right now. He's unbelievable this week, and he's definitely the reason why. He's the heart of the Solon team for a reason. He's been carrying this team the last 2 games and quite frankly for most of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Gamecock Ryan checking in. Appreciate you tuning in this afternoon. But yeah, no, the Moose has been, again, like we've said, loose, alive, and well in Hoover. And so, I think that energy is exactly what you want kind of going into pool play and like just, working your way through this SEC tournament. I don't know, pool play. I messed that up. But yeah, no. So going through the tournament, and tonight you have LSU, your rematch, or no, not a rematch.
No.
But you get to face off with Michael Braswell, obviously, who transferred is what I was getting at. Yeah. And Braswell leading off for the Tigers, as Jack we were talking about before the show, had a leadoff home run for LSU yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see this what tonight's action holds. Jack, I mean, first off, what are you seeing from the Tigers?
Yeah, we'll talk about Braswell for a second.
Yeah.
Obviously, South Carolina fans know his name pretty well by this point. I mean, I could give you a quick little breakdown of his career at Carolina. Obviously, he comes to South Carolina freshman, starting at shortstop, has a great first week at Carolina. I think he had, if memory serves correct, he had a walk-off at one point in his first week. Closed a few games as a reliever for the Gamecocks, and I remember specifically he landed a NIL deal with Rock Nation, which was the big thing at the time. And his career got off to such a good start at South Carolina. He was tearing the cover off the ball in non-conference play, and then you get to SEC play, and he couldn't hit a beach ball. He was awful in SEC play. I mean, it just his swing was very long. And it didn't help that he's also not a good defender. He never really has been. I think he's up to like 13 errors this year with LSU at shortstop. But then last year, I thought maybe he'd start, but obviously Braylon Wimmer moving from second to short kind of impacted that. And Braswell was basically like the utility man of the infield. And he saw some starts, but he definitely took a step back. I think last year, I think he only hit like 250. And then obviously the story goes that he wanted a better opportunity, a chance to be a starting shortstop at a winning program, which I think some people could kind of take as a slight at South Carolina, with Braswell maybe insinuating that South Carolina is not a winning program. But I don't think that's kind of what he was getting at. He just wanted a chance to start. And I think also with Michael is that he, it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to start at South Carolina. You have Will Tippett coming back as a sophomore this year, and Talmadge LeCroy is now at short. So I think it was probably for the best that Braswell left. Now, I also heard that he thought he was going to be, maybe becoming a starting shortstop at a mid-major school, and then LSU and Jay Johnson come calling, and they liked what they saw. They knew what he could potentially become, and he's taken such a big step forward this year. I mean, he's hitting over 300. He's got 2 homers now. Like you said, Joe, he had a leadoff homer yesterday, which totally surprised me because he's not much of a power hitter. But he's the leadoff hitter for LSU, and that whole team is playing very good baseball right now. They run-ruled Kentucky yesterday. They beat the brakes off Georgia. I think in these 2 games, they've outscored opponents 20-1. So things are clicking right now for the Tigers, and Braswell's definitely a big part of it. But I don't know what to expect tonight. I'm really just mixed on how this game's going to go, but I do expect if history proves anything, like guys tend to have revenge games. And look, I mean, I think there's a little bit of, I don't know if it's animosity, bad blood, whatever the case might be. But obviously there's been a little bit of drama in the past. So we'll see if that has any impact tonight. I don't think it will, but I definitely expect Braswell to have a decent game.
Yeah, certainly. And again, yeah, Jack just laid out the whole Michael Braswell, the beef and everything. So no, I mean, I think it will play a big factor. I think for Braswell, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously you want to dunk on your former team as one athlete does, but I think it's no more than that. I mean, there might be hard feelings for some guys, there might not be. I don't know. We're not in the locker room. We don't know how that whole situation left. And obviously there have been conflicting, reports coming out of it. Some people say it was good. Some people say it wasn't great. Not the best thing, but again, ends up at LSU hitting as well as he does. So it's good for Braswell. And again, we'll see what impact it has on the game as a whole tonight. But I think certainly it's more bulletin board for the South Carolina team. I think this baseball team is at the same point the basketball team was, a couple months ago, right? You were looking to be, essentially overlooked. You were looking for reasons or for people to, doubt you, right? And just keep adding it to the bulletin board. And then you have the offensive explosion like you have recently in Hoover, like South Carolina baseball. So I do want to get to Matt's question. Do we see Roman at all today? I think he deserves an inning or 2 in relief, but just have a backup plan if he comes out rusty again. I like it. I think you've got, relievers that are playing well right now. But so that's kind of my only rebuttal to that. But eventually you're going to need some arms. And I think Roman Kimball, especially out of the bullpen, that's what he's traditionally been, is kind of a closer. starter. I mean, he started at Notre Dame, but then, worked into a closer role, back into a starter role. So, I mean, I don't know. I could, definitely see him eventually. I don't know about today, though.
Here's my 2 cents on it. I don't think he pitches today unless it's like a blowout or something. But here's what I think will happen. If, let's say, South Carolina, I know the game hasn't even been played yet, and they're starting Tyler Pitzer tonight, obviously. I expect a lot of the younger guys to pitch tonight. Let's say South Carolina loses tonight, and they play tomorrow against Kentucky. In my opinion, I would just go ahead and start Roman tomorrow, because at that point, look, everyone's pitching at this point is going to be depleted. And for South Carolina, I think if you win today, you go for it all and try to win this whole tournament. But if you lose today, I think you just give Roman the start tomorrow. Let him just air it out. Let him go like a normal starter would, and just see what happens. Because look, if you lose tomorrow, oh well, like, you're out of the tournament, but you did your job, and you're going to play in a regional next week, maybe as a 2 or 3 seed. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see him pitching today. He hasn't pitched in like 2 weeks, maybe. So we'll see what happens. But I would expect, if I had to guess kind of what the plan is going to be today, probably Pitzer for 2 to 3 innings, then Jake McCoy. Connor McCurry hasn't thrown this weekend. I don't expect Drake Quinn to throw unless you need him to. And I don't know, like if you're winning by a bunch or losing. You got some guys, Matthew Becker, Dylan Eskew should be available today. I wouldn't expect Gainey or Chris Veach to be available quite yet, or Eli Jones, or Ty Good. But I mean, I just rattled off a ton of names that could be available today, and then I feel like you give Roman a chance to start tomorrow if you do get into an elimination game. Because honestly, it's not the end of the world if South Carolina loses tomorrow. But if they win today, definitely try to go for it all and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that game plan. And again, like when, we talked about this going into the tournament, Kingston has to be kind of shorter leash with the pitchers, because you need arm health, if anything, this weekend. So I think that's one of the bigger parts of this, and why, he's given a lot of guys different shots. I think Pitzer deserves it today. And certainly if you win today, I'm with it. I think, you're kind of taking a Johnny Holstaff approach to this whole tournament, really, because you have a lot of guys that are capable. You just need them in the right spots. So I agree with everything you got there, Jack. We're pulling up on a prediction here. Do you have a just kind of an outlook on how today's game is going to go? Any prediction?
So today's game is, I've thought about it all day, and it's very, like, I don't know, dude. Like, this LSU team is clicking at the right time. Obviously, they've got Tommy White, who's been unbelievable this year. They got Jared Jones. Both those guys hit grand slams yesterday. I mean, this was an LSU team at one point that was 2-13 in conference play, and you got to remember these are the national champs from last year. And obviously, there's no Paul Skeens or Dylan Cruz or guys like that, but they still got some of the guys from last year's team. And despite everything, I mean, they finished, I think I saw a stat that they're 15-6 in their last 21 games, and they've been, I think that's one of the best records in the SEC over that stretch. So they're getting hot at the right time, and that's kind of what the postseason is all about. Obviously, like I said before, they've outscored opponents 20-1 in their first 2 games in this tournament, and they got Michael Braswell, they got Tommy White, Tommy Tanks, I guess, and they got Gage Jump and Holman, the pitcher from yesterday out of Alabama that transferred there. So those are, I mean, look, LSU is going to be a tough draw in whatever regional they go to. That said, they're starting Thatcher Hurd today, who hasn't been good this year really at all. I think his ERA is it's probably north. I think it's north of 6 maybe. And but that at the same time, this is the same guy who, despite all his struggles this year, pitched in the clincher for the College World Series to win it all last year. Pitched 6 innings of, I think, 2-run ball against Florida to win it all in what was like an 18-4 game. And then also, someone brought this up to me yesterday that Hurd pitched against South Carolina in the SEC tournament last year, and he did pretty well. I think going like 5 1/3 of 3-run balls. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I feel like Hurd's leash is going to be a little short today. Then again, so is Tyler Pitzer's. If I had to give a pick, I don't know, man. I like the momentum of South Carolina right now. I do. I think despite them having younger pitchers going out there and pitching today, I think Pitzer's going to give you a good outing. I think South Carolina is going to score early enough, and Cole Messina has been swinging it well. Ethan Petrie's got to swing it a little better. Kennedy Jones needs to break out of his slump. There's a lot of guys in this lineup that are just waiting to get hot, and I think they're, it's going to be a tough task today. But I think if you limit LSU's damage, I think you win this one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I think they have a really good shot at winning this one. Again, limiting the damage is one thing, pulling your pitchers when, you're in kind of a tight spot. And just, it's a chess match when you go to the bullpen. So, I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think they make it past today, and then we'll see about the rest of the weekend. But I mean, like Jack said, you're certainly in a regional. Jack, I'm going to flip this again. What do they have to do to host, right? That win, right? Win the whole thing, I'm assuming is the answer to this.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're even talking about that, dude. Like,
Yeah.
it was literally,
it was dead in the water last week. It felt like
it's a roller coaster, dude. It's like,
yeah, up,
3 weeks ago, this team had just taken 2 or 3 from Missouri, and it looked like, okay, they just have to do pretty well these next 2 series against Georgia and Tennessee, and they'll be hosting a super potentially, not just a regional. Like, they could be a top 8 national seed. And then, obviously they have that high, and then they go straight down after getting swept by Georgia. And then it's like, okay, at this point, hosting's out of the question. So you're just playing to be a 2 or 3 seed at that point. And maybe if you beat Tennessee in a series, you can get back into the hosting conversation. Well, obviously they got swept by Tennessee. So at that point, it's like, okay, when are we firing Mark Kingston here? And then now it's crazy. And that's a whole other thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, what do you guys want to see at this point? Like, I feel like, I don't know. Me personally, I'd rather, if I were a fan of this team, I'd rather just see them be successful. And I honestly think Kingston's done a fine job this year. Like, it's not his fault that, players go through droughts. That is how it goes. His bullpen management has been great, but it was good yesterday, bringing in Gainey. But kind of getting back to the point, I mean, I don't know, man. I think they got to win this whole turn. If they win today, like I said, you got to go for it all. You have to win.
Yeah.
You got to go and try to win this tournament. I think they definitely can. But we'll see. I think if they do win it all, their RPI right now, I believe last time I checked, I'm going to check it again real quick. It is up to 18. Strength of schedule is at 7. You got 14 quad 1 wins, 3 quad 2 wins. You're going to be playing LSU today, who obviously won't really bump up your RPI too much. But if you lose today, you get Kentucky tomorrow, and if you beat them, your RPI goes up. And then, I'm trying to think who else you can get this tournament. I see Texas A&M and Tennessee are on right now. So, I mean, if you play 2 to 3 more games, you're getting 2 more guaranteed games. But if you get 2 to 3 more games this weekend, I think you can definitely see your RPI in the top 15. I think that's where you need to be. You need to be in the top 16. And you need to finish out this season strong, this tournament strong, and win the conference title. But it's going to be tough. I don't see it, but I do see them. Whoever wins today, I feel like is going to be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament compared to the loser, who will probably end up being a 3 seed. And we can get into where we see them playing and all that, but we'll see what happens today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I firmly agree. Comments have been popping off. Martin did want to get to this one. Talmadge LeCroy needs to get hot. He's been hitting the ball hard right at guys. I think his luck turns today. Yeah, and that's, I mean, kind of the player that Tal LeCroy is, right? He's always, doing something right. Solid contact when he's not hitting well, I guess, or putting it in play. But certainly a bat that you want to get hot at the right time. And, I mean, he's been doing great, in the field. We know about his glove and everything. So it's just the bat that needs to get going a little bit. We saw Casas be alive, and so I don't know. I think LeCroy, it's a good point, Martin. Jack, you got anything on Tal?
Yeah, I think I've said it for probably like a week now. I think Will Tippett should be starting at shortstop. I think he's got the better glove, and his bat is, Tal LeCroy is about a 240 hitter. So it's not like he's a 300 hitter that's just going through a slump right now. I mean, this is basically who he is at this point. I'll give him credit. He hit the ball. Like, he put good metal on the ball yesterday, but obviously got out. And he's been fine in the field, I think. But I don't know. He does need to get going at some point. I like what South Carolina's been doing lately, which is they'll make a big defensive change in the middle of the game. Like yesterday, I think it was like the 5th inning. You move Tal over to third. Tippett comes in at short. Casas moves over to first, Petrie moves out to right, Blake Jackson moves out to left, and Kennedy Jones comes out of the game. And Kennedy Jones, like I said, has not been swinging the bat well at all. So makes it, the change is warranted.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also like you need to give Will Tippett another look because I mean he's been spectacular.
He has. And look, if he never got hurt, never got hit by a 98-mile-per-hour fastball in the helmet, he's probably starting it short right now. But due to the unforeseen circumstances, Tal's been taking his spot. And look, he's fine. Kingston likes running him out there consistently. I expect him to start again today. But we'll see what happens. I do like getting Tippett in there, though. He's a nice change of pace. He's got more speed. He's better defensively, and he's about the same batting-wise. And I know he's got like a 170-something batting average, but, I mean, he got off to such a horrible start that, like, he's been slowly working his way back. And I bet you over, like, the last 30 games or whatever at this point, he's probably been hitting a little better, so.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do at short again. Talekwa, if his back gets hot today, obviously I think you leave him in there, but it'll be interesting to see when Kingston goes to Tippett.
Yeah, and Martin comments again. I don't like Ethan Petrie at first. Gavin Casas would have made several plays that Ethan missed. I kind of agree. And the thing with that is, Gavin's a great defender in my opinion. Third base is a little bit. I've seen him make some weird, errors there and stuff lately, and I think his glove's a lot better suited for first. Ethan out and right makes sense. I mean, we haven't even talked about it yet, but he made a great game-saving diving catch in the 7th inning. Obviously, that allowed Arkansas to tie the game with a sac fly. But if he misses that ball, it was right down the line, so maybe it would have stayed fair. If he dives and misses that ball, Arkansas scores 2 runs and takes the lead. So my point is, it was a great catch in the 7th inning when Gainey comes in and gave South Carolina a chance to go out there and do what they did with Messina. But I do like Petrie out and right, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to change that today. I think you got to leave Kennedy Jones in the lineup.
I was going to say, yeah, no, because you have so many bats that you kind of need in the lineup, and Kennedy Jones's glove is decent too, right? It's not obviously as good as the Petrie catch. Yeah, exactly. So, and Blake Jackson's been, everyone in the outfield has been good defensively so far.
Yeah, I think at some point Kennedy's going to turn around. He's too good not to turn around, and like he's been such a big help in the middle of this lineup ever since he got his chance a few weeks into non-conference play. But he's obviously been slumping like the last 2 weeks. I mean, keep in mind it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago against Georgia. He had like 4 RBIs and 4 hit games and stuff consistently. He was mashing, and then he's obviously going through a almost 10-game slump at this point where he really hasn't been hitting the ball well. But again, good hitters find a way to get it right. And, even Cole Messina went through slumps this year. Ethan Petrie has been through his fair share of slumps. So I think at some point Kennedy will get it right. And, if it's today, that's great because that means South Carolina has an even better chance of winning. And, and then I also like this comment here from Matt Sellers. I'd rather still win the tourney and go to Omaha. Wouldn't we all? I think that'd be great. And, I think if they win this tournament, man, I mean, it doesn't even matter if they get to be obviously hosting a regional will be great, but I don't think it's going to happen. Like this, it'd be sick, man. It'd be the greatest comeback in like.
Oh yeah, this team was dead in the water last week. Like right, I was not expecting to be sitting here talking about this like we are.
If they mess around and win this tournament, dude, think about it. I didn't even know this until yesterday. Like South Carolina hasn't, let alone get into a winner's bracket. They haven't been into a winner's bracket in this tournament since 2004. And then they haven't won a championship in this tournament since 2004. So that year, it was 2004, they swept the tournament field and went 4-0. So I think South Carolina's going to have to go 5-0 to win this week and go undefeated. But, man, it'd be something if they were to. It would make the committee's job a lot harder. Today, I did see that Baseball America has South Carolina in the Raleigh Regional with NC State as the 9 seed. So South Carolina would be the 2 seed in that bracket. And I think it's a more favorable matchup. I think it's better for them. And I know some of y'all, like EXO, want to see South Carolina play Clemson, who Clemson lost today to Miami. So the way the ACC tournament works is that it's a round robin style. So you're paired with two other teams, and Clemson plays Miami today, and then I don't know who they play tomorrow, but they play someone tomorrow. I think it's maybe BC or something. Can't remember, but it's set in stone. So, and then the best team that comes out of the round robin round goes to the semifinals in the ACC tournament, and then from there. But I don't know. I think if South Carolina went to Clemson as a 2 seed, that would be cool. It would be sweet. It'd be like 2012 and 2010 when these teams faced off in the postseason. But I don't know, man. I think a lot has changed since these two teams. I mean, Joe, you were there with me at Sector for that crazy walk off. I mean, I think a lot's changed since these two teams faced off back in early March in non-conference play. But I definitely think South Carolina now could definitely go out there and beat Clemson.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought they could beat them when the games were supposed to be played, and then obviously you had the rain out, and then you had to go to Clemson and whatever. You never got the opening game at Founders Park, which I think would have been huge for series momentum. But yeah, I don't know. So that's a fun hypothetical to throw out there. I'm glad EXO threw it out there. So I don't know. Do they meet him again in the postseason? I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see. Could they be in their regional? Maybe we'll see. Jack, if you want to pull up some projections.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up D1 baseball. I don't know if they've really had it updated. Baseball America did theirs today. The last time that D1 baseball did theirs was a few days ago, and I think South Carolina was projected to be a 3 seed in the or not 3 seed, 3 seed in the Clemson regional. And and that was with Louisiana and Army. So I don't know. I definitely see South Carolina becoming a 2 seed at some point here shortly. And I don't know, man. I don't know if it'd be better to go into NC State. That's a good team playing really hot ball right now. Or do you go into the upstate and you go face your arch rival potentially? And South Carolina fans would turn out in droves, I think, drive 2 hours to Clemson to go see that. But I don't know. And, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Baseball America had South Carolina going to UC Santa Barbara last week. So, nothing's guaranteed. I definitely think they're going to be somewhere in the Carolinas. I mean, you got ECU, North Carolina, NC State, Clemson, maybe Duke. There's so many good teams in South and North Carolina that I think a bunch of them are going to be hosting, and the odds of South Carolina landing with one of those teams would be pretty high, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Jack, before we get out of here, we got to talk about our presenting sponsor, our good friend over at the Movement Mortgage Network, Clint Hammond. In need of help with your mortgage, call on our good friend Clint Hammond of the Movement Mortgage Network. He's been in the mortgage industry since 2003, which allows him to help everyone from the first-time home buyer to the complicated and complex jumbo buyer. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance, nothing is more important than a well-thought-out financial strategy that comes with 5-star customer service. He's even helped out our very own Wes Mitchell and former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth with their mortgages. So give a guy Clint a call. He's above us on all of our Gamecock Central live programming, 803-422-6797. Once again, 803-422-6797 for all of your for all of your mortgage needs. But so anyways, moving right along. Appreciate Clint Hammond as always, again, above us. But Jack, anything else before we wrap things up today?
Well, thank you guys for all following along and tuning into today's show. It's been a crazy week, and I doubt many of y'all would raise your hand saying that we were expecting South Carolina to go out here and win the first 2 games, beat Arkansas. That was crazy yesterday. Look, guys,
I was one of said doubters.
Yeah, look, I gave this team too much optimism last week, picking them to win 2 of 3 against Tennessee, and that ultimately backfired. And heading into this week, I thought South Carolina was going to go 1-2 and be done, but get to a regional. Now they really are playing with a chance to potentially get back to the hosting conversation, at least in my opinion. And I think Mark Kingston kind of feels the same way in terms of if they go out here and win 3-4 games in Hoover, they can get to being a host again. But we'll have to see what happens. It's tonight's gonna be crazy. 5:30 first pitch, approximately on SEC Network. I'm looking at my TV right now in the hotel. Tennessee and Texas A&M are tied, scoreless in the bottom of the second inning. So As soon as that game gets over, it'll be 30 minutes after that, so roughly 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then there's one more game tonight with Mississippi State playing Vanderbilt. So it's been crazy though. Like all the lower, like all the top 4 seeds yesterday lost their games and are now in the elimination phase, and that hasn't happened since 2010. And if you go back to 2010, I saw a video this morning on one of those Gamecock Twitter accounts. The last time that happened, Whit Merrifield won South Carolina the College World Series with the walk-off against UCLA. So, and if you're losing faith right now, that's not the right mindset to have. This team's playing good ball. They've won their last 2. They win today, man. Screw around and go find a way to win this whole tournament. There is a way, because you get Friday off. I think that's something that also gets lost in translation. Is that, and I was curious too, is that if you win today, you stay in the winners bracket and you get Friday off. You don't play till Saturday, and that does wonders for your pitching staff. It gives them a day of rest, day to reset, and then it becomes single elimination on Saturday in the semifinals. And if you win that, you obviously go to the championship. So I definitely think if they win today, go for it all. Your pitching staff set up well to be in good shape. I expect Veach and Gainey and Jones and Good to all be available at that point, and do what you got to do to win it all. So we'll see what happens. Are we rooting for A&M or Tennessee? I don't know, man. I would say
I think A&M, right?
I think A&M because
you have a better shot to beat LSU than you would the way I think about this is obviously I pick South Carolina this afternoon. You pick South Carolina this afternoon, right? Carolina. Who would you rather? Because would that theoretically be the next game?
No. So the loser of this game faces Kentucky, and then the winner.
That's not great.
I think the winner gets the winner of Mississippi State Vanderbilt on Saturday.
Yeah,
that would be the. So whoever wins the elimination game tomorrow, Kentucky versus South Carolina or LSU, that game would be Saturday afternoon. And then whoever wins this game, I think, plays. I don't know. It's very complicated, but
I was gonna say, the bracket isn't.
The bracket makes it's weird. I didn't expect it to be single elimination on Saturday if someone were undefeated. But the point is, I would say if South Carolina is RPI chances, Tennessee probably would be the better matchup just because if you beat Tennessee, then if you guys want to host, I mean, that's the way to do it. You got to go out there and beat the best. And, beating LSU isn't going to really – it's good, but it's not like – in terms of RPI, it's not exactly, top 10 RPI in the country. I mean, LSU is probably 20 – in the 20s maybe. But we'll have to see what happens. I think I don't know. A&M lost a bad one last night, 5-3, and Vanderbilt smoked Tennessee. So I mean, anything can happen at this point, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see. Again, Jack Veltri and Hoover giving us all the coverage on GamecockCentral.com. You can find all of it, like I said, on GamecockCentral.com. Also on our YouTube channel and socials, X, wherever you got us. Get it there. And so, yeah, subscribe. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel and then hit the little bell icon to know when we are going live. Again, Jack, appreciate everything you're doing in Hoover. And appreciate everyone tuning in this afternoon. Pretty good show. And we'll have to see how this weekend turns out. Knock on wood that it's, going in the right direction. And we're talking about some happy things next week.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a coincidence that everything's just been going well. The weather's been great. South Carolina's winning baseball games. I mean, look, the way I heard it with Hoover is that the weather's always been terrible here when South Carolina plays, and obviously their track record. Mark Kingston had never won 2 games in the SEC tournament, in one go before yesterday. So the fact that everything's going well right now, I think it's a good sign. I think the pitching staff is going to be able to get the job done. The offense, Cole Messina, Ethan Petrie, the whole cast and crew will do fine. But appreciate you guys tuning in as always. And we'll definitely be running it back here shortly as we learn where South Carolina is going to be going for their regional here in a few days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, appreciate everyone tuning in, and you guys have a great weekend.